Welcome to Present Poetry. I'm your host, Erin Crittenden, and all poems within this podcast are either public domain or used with permission from the author or the author's estate. It's a fun time for poetry lovers of all ages, so sit back, relax, and get ready to hear some poems of the past and the present. This week's featured poet is Dorothy Parker. Dorothy Parker was born Dorothy Rothschild on August 22, 1893, to Jacob Henry Rothschild and his wife, Eliza Annie. Sadly, her mother passed away in 1898, leaving a 5-year-old Dorothy with her father and a sister, Helen. Dorothy's father remarried in 1900 to Eleanor Lewis, but despite that, Dorothy had a troubled childhood, which was eventually compounded by the death of her stepmother in 1903. As a child, Dorothy attended a Roman Catholic elementary school, and it stated that she once referred to the Immaculate Conception as spontaneous combustion, a comparison that the sisters didn't appreciate. She then attended Miss Dana's finishing school, but left it in 1911 at the age of 18 to pursue her own interests. In 1912, Dorothy's uncle Martin passed away on the sinking of the Titanic, and her father died the following year, leaving Dorothy practically alone. She ended up playing piano at a dancing school to earn a living while she worked on her true passion, which was poetry. In 1914, Dorothy sold her first poem to Vanity Fair, which opened the door for her to become the editorial assistant at Vogue. However, she would move on to work as a staff writer at Vanity Fair 2 years later. In 1917, Dorothy Rothschild met Edwin Pond Parker II, a Wall Street stockbroker, and they were married before he left to fight in World War I. She ended up filing for divorce in 1928, but kept her married name of Parker, even after remarrying to Alan Campbell in 1934. Dorothy Parker's career took off in 1918, and she became a powerful poet, critic, screenwriter, and satirist. Over the next 15 years, Dorothy would publish over 300 poems, most of them full of wry, caustic humor, and would write more articles and reviews than we can count. She published her first poetry collection, Enough Rope, in 1926, and it sold over 47,000 copies. She then released Sunset Guns in 1928, Death in Texas in 1931, and a re-release in 1939 known as Here Lies. During this time, Dorothy moved to Hollywood with Alan Campbell, her second husband, and together they're credited with screenwriting over 15 films between 1934 and 1941, including A Star is Born, for which they were nominated for an Academy Award, Little Foxes, and Smash Up, The Story of a Woman. Dorothy Parker died on June 7, 1967, of a heart attack. She bequeathed her estate to Martin Luther King Jr. and was cremated. However, once her ashes were sent to her lawyer, he had already retired, so his partner, Paul O'Dwyer, stuck her in a filing cabinet, and there her ashes remained for 17 years before the NAACP, who received her estate upon the death of Martin Luther King Jr., built her a memorial garden outside their Baltimore headquarters. The plaque in the garden reads, "Here lies the ashes of Dorothy Parker, humorist, writer, critic, defender of human and civil rights. For her epitaph, she suggested, 'Excuse my dust.' This memorial garden is dedicated to her noble spirit, which celebrated the oneness of humankind, and to the bonds of everlasting friendship between Black and Jewish people. Dedicated by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, October 28, 1988. We are reading from Enough Rope, which was her first and arguably most popular collection of poems, published in 1926. This poem is called Threnody. Lilacs blossom just as sweet, now my heart is shattered. If I bowled it down the street, who's to say it mattered? If there's one that rode away, what would I be missing? Lips that taste of tears, they say, are the best for kissing. Eyes that watch the morning star seem a little brighter. Arms held out to darkness are usually whiter. Shall I bar the strolling guest, bind my brow with willow, when they say the empty breast is the softer pillow? That a heart falls tinkling down, never think it ceases. Every likely lad in town gathers up the pieces. If there's one gone whistling by, would I let it grieve me? Let him wonder if I lie, let him half believe me. This poem is called The Trifler. Death's the lover that I'd be taking, wild and fickle and fierce is he. Small's his care if my heart be breaking, gay young Death would have none of me. Hear them clack of my haste to greet him, no one other my mouth has kissed. I had dressed me in silk to meet him, false young Death would not hold the tryst. Slow's the blood that was quick and stormy, smooth and cold as the bridal bed. I must wait till he whistles for me, proud young Death would not turn his head. I must wait till my breast is wilted, I must wait till my back is bowed, I must rock in the corner, jilted. Death went galloping down the road. Gone's my heart with the trifling rover, fine he was in the game he played, kissed and promised and threw me over, and rode away with the prettier maid. This poem is called The Dark Girl's Rhyme. Who was there had seen us, wouldn't bid him run? Heavy lay between us, all our sires had done. There he was, a springing of a pious race, setting hags a swinging in a market-place. Sowing turnips over where the poppies lay, looking past the clover, adding up the hay, shouting through the spring song, clumping down the sod, toadying in sing-song to a crapid god. There I was that came of folk of mud and flame, I that had my name of them without a name. Up and down a mountain streeled my silly sock, passing by a fountain, ringing at a rock. Devil-gotten sinners, throwing back their heads, fiddled for their dinners, kissing for their beds. Not a one had seen us, wouldn't help him flee, angry ran between us, blood of him and me. How shall I be mating, who have looked above, living for a hating, dying of a love? This poem is called The Satin Dress. Needle, needle, dip and dart, thrusting up and down, where's the man could ease a heart like a satin gown? See the stitches curve and crawl round the cunning seams, patterns thin and sweet and small as a lady's dreams. Wantons go in bright brocades, brides in organdie, ginghams for the plighted maid, satins for the free. Wools to line a miser's chest, crapes to calm the old, velvet hides an empty breast, satins for the bold. Lawn is for a bishop's yoke, linens for a nun, satin is for wiser folk, would the dress were done. Satin glows in candlelight, satins for the proud, they will say who watch at night, what a fine shroud. This poem is called Resume. Razors pain you, rivers are damp, acids stain you, and drugs cause cramp. Guns aren't lawful, nooses give, gas smells awful, you might as well live. Thank you for listening to this episode of Present Poetry. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review, share us on social media, or subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you would like to learn more about the featured poet, or you would like your work featured on the podcast, please check out the links in the show notes. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.